Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Justin and the Food Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm Justin Bizzarro. I'm your host. That's B as in boy, I-Z-Z-A-R-R-O. And today I have with us Samantha New from Eclat Culinary. How are you doing today, Samantha?
I'm great, Justin. How are you?
I'm excellent. So, Samantha, tell us a little bit about your background and how you became a food entrepreneur.
Yeah, so I was raised with a chef or a mother. So I had a passion for good food instilled in me from day one. So it's kind of always been a natural path for me. I went to culinary school pretty much right out of high school. I was in West Georgia at the time. Started out my career in a country club, worked all the different positions, and then went on to get into management pretty early. I worked with contract food service accounts, so college dining halls. I was executive chef at the Aflac headquarters in Columbus, Georgia, and then executive chef at the Kia manufacturing plant, which did thousands of people every day. And then I moved to Colorado 3.5 years ago or so. So kind of shifted my focus from the management aspect back onto food and keeping up with trends and kind of defining my own style. So I've been in the food service industry for I think it's 16 or so years now.
And so why the move from Georgia to Colorado?
Well, I grew up in Alma, which is right near Breckenridge. And I moved a lot when I was growing up, and when we lived there, it was kind of, we settled for a while, and I really got to love the place. So Colorado's always felt like home to me. I was in Georgia for about 12 years, but I wanted to come back here the whole time, pretty much. This is more my scene. So yeah, I finally just kind of dropped everything and moved out here and made it happen.
Well, you just happen to be part of the podcast is worldwide, but our most popular states are actually Georgia and Colorado right now in terms of listeners and followers. So you've hit both of them right on the head.
Perfect. Yeah, I was looking through your past episodes and I saw a bunch from Georgia.
Yeah. So we have a big following, and a lot of people take interest in Georgia and what's going on there. And, we're starting to get up there with Colorado as well. So, but I want to understand your passion. I mean, it's not easy to just say, I'm going to create my own business. I mean, you worked for other people. Was it just a decision? You're like, I don't want to work for someone else anymore. Or how did you get to where you are now? I mean, because it's a big step, right?
It is. Yeah, for sure. I kind of always knew that I was going to start my own business at some point. Both of my parents were business owners. My dad was an electrician. He had his own company, and he was a master electrician and did new construction and put in heated floors and all the wiring and in all these mountain cabins up here. And when I was growing up, I mean, I saw them not only work for other people but also thrive with having their own business. So that was a good example for me to grow up with. So it never seemed out of the realm of possibility for me. But what I wanted to do first was make sure that I was set up for success and had all of the skills that I needed to be able to pull it off well, if that makes sense. So I was comfortable working for other people and learning a little bit from every place that I worked at. And I'm grateful that I got into management. I think I was 23 when I got my first management position. And it was after having worked the front of the house for a few years when I was just starting out in food. And then, I worked in several restaurants and a country club and got pretty good on the line. It was comfortable working any position. So, I mean, it's really important to know bookkeeping and ordering and, finding vendors and writing menus and all of that stuff too. So, if I didn't have all of that background and all of that stuff under my belt, I'm sure that there would be some weak points with working by myself and not having someone on a day-to-day basis to go to and say, hey, how do I do this? I mean, I'm starting everything completely from scratch, building all of my own systems and defining what I want my company to be. So, yeah, I mean, it was, like I said, I've been in the industry for 16 years. I just started my company last September. So I'm not even at a year yet. So that's quite a few years of picking up good habits that I want to keep for later, at a bunch of different places. And, there were some things that I saw and that I was a part of that, hey, this is a bad habit, or I don't really like how that's done. I'm going to throw that away and just keep the good things. So I kind of cherry picked everything, filed it away for later. And then once I finally got to the point where I felt comfortable, I felt like I was confident enough and knew enough about everything that I need to use on a daily basis. And I was like, okay, cool. That's I feel good about it. Let's do it.
Well, and I think that's so important for any entrepreneur, because what happens is we are not, we often jump into things without getting a great background, especially in food and beverage, because there is so many pieces. Like you said, like procurement's a big piece. How do you order? How do you manage an inventory? How do you make sure that you're efficient and you don't have too many losses in your business for food and things like that? So I think that it's just so important how you're doing it and everything that's being done. So tell us a little bit about, your menu and how people can find you and exactly what you do for your customers.
Yeah, definitely. So everything I do is custom. I started out knowing that I didn't want a set menu for people to choose from. I didn't want cookie cutter choices that, I've done this exact same buffet for 20 people before you. I like having that customized personal touch, so anytime I talk with a client, initially it's, hey, so tell me your vision, tell me what you're thinking about, what are some of your favorite cuisines, is there anything that you don't like, what's the event like, do you want it family style, do you want it buffet, do you want it plated, and everything is completely tailored to them. I can either build a menu around a set per person budget that they already have in mind, or we can, build something that exactly fits their vision, and then I price that out accordingly. I'm able to do things for not too much. I mean, for the quality of the foods that I put out, and the fact that everything is custom and everything is very focused on my customers and their satisfaction and making sure that they're completely happy. It's I'm able to do it really affordably because I work out of a commissary. I don't have a staff. I have people that I can call when I need extra hands, and my boyfriend works out of the same commissary. He's a chef as well. And, we support each other. We help each other out a lot. So having that support system with people around that I'm able to call on allows me to, just do mostly everything myself, keep overhead costs low, and be able to pass those savings on to the customers. But, I really like being able to go to farmers markets and go to the store and see what's in season, what looks great, what's currently, affordable at the moment and still really high quality. And yeah, work with the seasons. I make everything from scratch, and I source as locally and sustainably as possible.
And so explain to me one of your recent events and sort of how that took place, and I mean, if you can, and just give me an idea of what the menu looked like. And I mean, one of your the ones you had more fun at, I guess, would probably be the easiest to tell. But I mean, just explain to me like what the menu looked like and the food that you produce, because I really want to give the audience an idea of like the down and dirty of the food that you're creating.
Yeah, for sure. So one of my regular clients, I don't know if I can say names.
You can, absolutely.
But
it's up to you.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. So just to as a caveat, pretty much all of my business is through references. So I have a pretty big network around here. I've gotten to know a lot of people, and I get a lot of repeat business, and I'd say 95% of the people that get in contact with me, it's hey, I got your number from so and so. They spoke really highly of you. So through that, one of the clients that I now have, I do a catering for them once, sometimes twice a month. They do training classes for stem cell regeneration technology. It's all physicians, really cutting edge, very amazing stuff that they're doing. They do a lot with veterans and those that have, had things happen to their bodies that kind of break things down, and they're in pain. And so these people, it's a nonprofit, and they fly in doctors from all over the country, and they train them on these really modern cutting edge techniques to help heal people. So I go in and do breakfast and lunch for them while they're on location doing their training courses. And since they're all physicians, they're all very health focused, and it took a lot of back and forth to get this menu tailored to exactly what they want. But I go in and I cook fresh scrambled eggs for them as an action station element. So, I mean, I'm not cooking eggs at the commissary and then hauling it and having it sit in a hot box and get gross. I cook them fresh on site. And, there's a couple protein options, and then there's a yogurt and granola bar and a coffee station, and it seems to suit their needs. They just want something nice and light, no carbs, no super fatty stuff. Because, like I said, they're physicians, they're all health focused, and they like to take care of themselves. And then for lunch, I do a different soup, and I do some hot quinoa, so they can build quinoa bowls. I've usually got 2 protein options, chicken and fish or steak or something like that, and then like a salad bar setup. So it's a little atypical because people usually want bread options and just a bigger selection of maybe some things that might be a little more indulgent, dessert and stuff. But that's a good example of something that's completely tailored to exactly what they want. And yeah, I'm on site all day, in between breakfast and lunch. So I'm cooking whatever I'm making for lunch, fresh or, preparing it. I use the sous vide circulator a lot. So it's not, like I said, cooked at the commissary hours ago and then transported in a hot box. Another thing that I've done recently that's really fun is wine pairing dinner. Sorry, it's early. I'm having a brain fart. So recently did a collaboration with Cert Kitchen to do a 10-course wine pairing dinner at Kingman Estates Winery. It's in North Denver. And that's something that I like to do occasionally just to be able to play, doing these dinners, and I've got a couple more coming up pretty soon. I'm able to do what I like to do and use techniques that kind of challenge me and further my skills and my repertoire of different techniques that I like to do. And it allows me the opportunity to be really creative. So this dinner was super fun. It was 10 courses paired with 9 different wines. And it was all, like, we did some table-side cooking, and it was all complete mobile. It's difficult doing things off-site. You don't have your home kitchen with everything that you need, all the equipment and all the food that's in. I mean, it's all tailored to your menu, so it's easy to do it out of a restaurant. But to be able to serve a 10-course meal off-site, not in your home kitchen, and transporting everything back and forth, and being able to set up basically a mobile restaurant is it's a skill that not everyone has. It's a fun challenge for me.
Well, and I love it. And I saw recently that you did an event at the Grow House in Denver, which is a really cool. They do aquaponics and hydroponics to grow fruits and vegetables, and they also give back to the community through doing it. And I see you've recently done an event for them.
Yeah, well, the Grow House dinner is actually coming up this Saturday, the 8th. I think there's actually still tickets available for that. If you check out the Eclat Culinary Facebook page, I just posted a link to the ticket page, and there's still some tickets available. So there's
and the whole thing that you're doing. I love that you cater it. It's specific diets, and I love that it's not always just bread, because I can't tell you how many events I go to, and I'm in food and I'm in healthcare, but how much bread is such an important part. Yet that are on paleo diets now and whole 30 diets or oh, I just went blank on the other one that's popular now, but keto. And so they're not eating a lot of breads in the same way, and so being able to customize your catering to that, not just having a blanket sheet that says, okay, I'm only catering this, here's my options, and you pick from that. I think that the fact that you go out and you customize something for someone gives back so much to the people. And I think it's more enjoyable, because I can't tell you how much I pick apart my food, because I end up at events and it's just your standard, box lunch with, a sandwich, a bag of chips, and a cookie. And you're like, oh man, this just blows my, my diet, or the way that I eat in general. I would say it's actually my lifestyle. I wouldn't call it a diet, because I don't do it periodically, but it's doing so. I mean, why? I mean, is it the way you eat? I mean, tell me, how do you eat as a chef? I think I've never actually asked this on the podcast, but I'm curious because I looked at the menu.
It's a good question. And it's one of those things that I may not be super proud of, but it works for me. So, I mean, I'm in front of food all day, right? All day long. That's what I do. My life is being surrounded by food of all different kinds. So I just eat as I'm prepping, basically. It's kind of difficult for me to go out to a restaurant and sit down and have a full meal, because I don't eat that much at once. I'm kind of a grazer, I guess. So, I mean, if I'm cutting fresh fruit, then I get a little bit of fruit there. When I'm cutting up blanching vegetables, I eat a few pieces there. I mean, I taste everything that I cook. So by the end of the day, I'm full. I've had my food for the day, and I've had a few meals, but it's all spaced out with, 2-3 bites here, 2 or 3 bites there. So, I mean, I don't know if there's any solid scientific evidence behind it, but I've heard that spacing out your meals and eating more smaller meals is better for you. So, I feel like I'm pretty healthy, and I cook healthily. I don't fry much really, because everything's off site and that doesn't carry well. And, I do a lot of fresh produce, and everything's made from scratch. I don't use lard or shortening or anything like that. I make whole food. I make healthy, real food. So the same menus that I'm offering to my clients is the same food that I'm eating, and I'm I don't like serving things that I don't like to eat myself. And then, when I get home at the end of the day and I've been cooking all day, I'm not going to lie, Grubhub is called pretty often. Yeah. If I'm hungry at night, I don't want to cook.
No, I totally get that. And when you're working all day around food, sometimes you're like, the last thing I want to do is cook. So, So, I mean, where can, let's do this. Tell me how people can get a hold of you if they want your catering. What's your email, your phone number? How can they find you on social media again? Just because I love what you're doing, and I want to make sure anyone in the Denver area or the Colorado area can get a hold of you, because I love what you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. My email is chefsam at eclatculinary.com. Eclat is ECLAT. And you can use that same name to look me up on Instagram and Facebook. It's at Eclat Culinary on Instagram, and Facebook.com/Eclat Culinary. If you just search for it, mine's the only one with that name. It's kind of a unique name. My cell phone number is 706-392-7601. I'm fine with text messages or calls anytime. I make myself available for my clients. And my website is currently under construction, but it should be up here in a few weeks. When I first started out, I just had kind of a splash page with my contact info, but finally getting around to getting that professionally designed. So that'll be eclatculinary.com. It's available now. It still has the splash page up with all of my contact info, but I'll have more information and pictures and a contact form on the website once it's up.
And so how did you come up with the name?
Well, it's thesaurus, honestly. So I went to thesaurus.com and just started typing in words that might describe my cooking style or what I wanted my company to be. And just started browsing around, and any word that kind of struck my fancy, I looked more into. And I don't remember which word I typed in, but I was like, Eclat, what does that mean? I've never heard of that word before. So I clicked on it, and the definition is brilliant display or dazzling effect. Also means conspicuous success. So it seemed to really fit my cooking style and my the whole basis behind my business. And it's actually an English word. It sounds French. I think it's French roots, but it's an English word. It's kind of one of those old timey ones that hasn't been used in decades. So I'm finding that I get a lot of people that don't know how to pronounce it or misspell it, or they're like, what does that mean? And then, once I explain it, it makes more sense. So really it was more for me. I had a couple people when I first picked the name, going, well, you're going to be correcting people and, and explaining that a lot. I'm like, yeah, and that's fine. 'Cause as soon as I do, people are like, oh yeah, I get it. That makes sense. And, it's for me. I like it. I like it for myself, and everything about my company is 100% authentic and true to myself. So,
it is a cool word. I like, I've just looked it up on the dictionary myself as we're talking, and I mean, it has so many great synonyms: dash, flair, flourish, eagerness, vitality, dynamicism. Oh, great! I can't say the word dynamicism, liveliness, spirit, energy. Apparently, I can't pronounce that word. And dash, and style word. And actually, you look at it, it does have an accent above the E. But French culinary food, but actually, if you really get into it, and I think it allows tell your story, which I think is amazing. I love the name.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and it's always a good conversation starter.
So, I mean, what are some of the things that have been hard for you starting your own business?
Well, it is like night and day. Having, I started out having a schedule and having responsibilities and having a staff to manage and having deadlines to meet. And the biggest challenge for me that I've found in my career is staying engaged and staying actively interested in something if I have the same routine every day. I get bored pretty easily, and I feel like that's a trait that a lot of chefs share, which is why we get drawn to this industry, because we're not desk people. We have short attention spans and we need excitement. So, one of the biggest challenges for me has been going from that routine and that pressure of, I need to get this done and I need to get that done, or this is going to I'll have this consequence, to being completely self-managing. I don't get gigs I don't get clients unless I go out and I talk to people and I network and I, share on social media and I follow up on leads. And all of that is 100% on me. When I was in culinary school, I didn't actually graduate because my last 2 classes, I finished the program, but I had 2 core classes left to finish my degree. And I didn't get it because those classes were online. And this is years ago. At the time, I wasn't very good at self-managing. And, if I'm home at the end of a day and I'm tired and I have a test online to take, then it was hard for me at the time to be like self-disciplined and be like, okay, well, I got to get this done. Certainly gotten better at it now, because if I don't do the work, whether I'm home and whether there's, deadlines and pressures and things that I have to do or not, it's still got to get done or I don't pay the bills. I'm totally dependent on myself, which is great. But I've had to learn that self-discipline. It's also been a little difficult not having people constantly around. So, if I have a question or if I have a challenge or if I have a problem, I've had to learn QuickBooks from the ground up by myself. I had a little bit of background, but certainly not a QuickBooks pro for sure. Anytime I have a question or, hey, I don't know how to do this, instead of someone being in the same room that knows what they're doing and can show me right then and there, now I have to seek out the support that I need, and I have to seek out answers to my questions. So I'd say not having that network and people constantly around and having things, happening to hold you accountable for your daily responsibilities has been a pretty big change.
So I actually have a question, because I'm in food, but I don't do catering or that type of event. So, and I do food production, but it's like, how in my head, like, this is a question that I have. I'm like, how do you have people you come in and help you do events? And it's scattered, right? Because in the catering world, your business sort of varies. Like you said, one day you may do breakfast and lunch, another day you may do lunch and dinner, or just dinner. Or are people just on call, or do you do it all yourself, or you have a group of people you always go to that are always available? So, how does that work?
Well, first of all, I schedule all of my events with the rest of my calendar in mind. So I'm not gonna overbook myself and set myself up for failure. I spread them out enough. So like if I have a late night event one night, I'm not going to schedule a first thing in the morning breakfast the next day, because I won't be able to give it 100%. So, and owning my own business means that I can say no to things. I have other people that I can refer potential clients to if the schedule doesn't work out. But I make sure when I schedule events that I'm able to give it my full attention and make sure that it goes exactly how it's supposed to go. If I'm not able to do it myself, I have a small inner circle of people that I call on all the time, and I know that I can trust them, and I know that they will do the event and execute everything. Not exactly the same way that I would, but pretty darn close. And so I make sure that I'm not completely overloaded. All the back and forth with the client, all the planning, all the shopping, all that I do myself. And like I said, my boyfriend is a chef too. He owns a food truck, and we work out of the same commissary. So, even though we both have our 2 independent businesses, and we have different menus and we have different styles, and it's all completely separate, we work as a partnership. So it's been invaluable to have him around as much as he is, because we bounce menu ideas off of each other, and we'll work on work on prep with each other. And, you know, if one person is going to the store for ingredients, we'll pick up stuff for the other person. So it would be more difficult if I were doing it completely on my own. And it's really helpful to have that close day-to-day support. And then he has 2 employees that work on his food truck, and they're both great. They're extremely talented. They're dependable. And, you know, so those guys are the first 2 that I call, assuming they don't have a gig on the food truck. If I need anything outside of what Brandon and I do, because, I mean, we've both been doing this for a long time, and we're able to knock out a lot of stuff in a reasonably short amount of time, considering it's just the 2 of us. We call it beast mode. And, you know, outside of us 2 and then his 2 guys, I have some people that I call on a regular basis, and they call on me too. It's good to have a local network of people that all are doing the same thing, because it's like a built-in support system. And then we'll say a bigger outer circle of people that I call when I have, say, a wedding for 100 or 2 people, and I need extra hands for plate up or clearing tables or something like that. And there's been a time or 2 where I needed hands and everybody was busy, and so I just reached out on social media. Denver has some really good networking groups, and, you know, you just put it out there, hey, I need X number of people in this date for such and such event, and then there's a lot of freelancers out there that are willing to pick up gigs here and there.
I think it's amazing, because I'm just like, it's a whole different world. And I mean, you're really just producing food on the fly and bringing people in. But I love that you have the connection with your boyfriend and his food truck, which I'll say the name because it'll be the episode right after this, which is Circa Kitchen. And, and I'll make sure I pronounce it correctly, but it's Brendan Becker. And
Brandon Becker. It's Cirque Kitchen. It's pronounced like Cirque du Soleil.
Oh, Cirque. Well, see, my English language. I can't even speak English today, so we're doing pretty good. And
I'm right there with you.
I know. So I'll have someone else announce it next time. But so I love what you're doing, and I love that you're able to pull everything together, and I love the different menus and things like that. What is your favorite type of food, Samantha? If you were like to cater your own event, if it were for you or for your birthday or whatever, what would the menu you would design?
Breakfast. I love breakfast food. You know, people ask the question a lot, is what would you have for your last meal? Like, if you knew you were going to die and you could pick one meal to have, and it can be anything you want. I want a giant breakfast smorgasbord. I love it. I was a sous chef with Snooze for a little while. It was Denver based, but now they're expanding pretty rapidly. I just saw they were going to put one in Atlanta somewhere. But they do really creative menus, everything made from scratch. They do all different kinds of pancakes and Benedicts and this and that. So I was able to pick up a couple of techniques from them. I always made hollandaise in a bowl with a whisk by hand, like they teach you in culinary school. So I never really enjoyed making it because it's a pain in the neck. But when I worked at Snooze, I learned how to make hollandaise with an immersion blender, and it's 100% easier. And so I've been able to play around with a lot of different Benedict combinations, you know, sweet potato pancakes with poached eggs and some what did I do with that one? It was sauteed spinach and pulled pork and like a chipotle hollandaise. And, you know, I love pancakes and French toast. I love bacon and fresh fruit. And, yeah, just give me like a whole breakfast smorgasbord.
Well, I love breakfast as well. I think it's definitely my favorite meal as well. It's that I love eating. I actually could just eat breakfast and not eat the rest of the day, but that's not exactly the most healthiest of options for your body. But no. I love that. And so on sort of to that, I mean, how come? I mean, I mean, I'm just a little bit. So do you do a lot of breakfast? We mentioned a little bit with the catering, but I got to imagine there's probably, I don't know. I'm like, breakfast would seem like such a cool thing to cater more often. I just wonder if the popularity is out there. Is it more that you cater lunch and dinner versus breakfast?
They are only for like the wine dinners that I do, or I've done a lot of nonprofit like fundraiser dinners this year. Like event, which was I think there was 20 or 30 chefs and restaurants there paired with different, but I haven't found that I do a whole lot of dinner caterings. I do some personal chef gigs where I'm actually cooking in people's homes. Sometimes it's at an Airbnb up in the mountains because they've come in for a ski vacation. I do more of those in the winter, obviously. I've done a couple of private dinners at Airbnbs and also people's homes here in Denver. So that's kind of, a lot of the caterings that I do are corporate. They're for office buildings. I work with a couple of film production companies locally that I do craft services for. I do some box lunches. It seems more like when people are gathered together for work is when I'm doing lunch, and that's been most of the demand, honestly, which kind of surprised me because I thought I would do more of the personal chef private dinner side. And then I would say, so lunch caterings have been the most popular, and then breakfast caterings after that, surprisingly. Let's see, a lot of it is for, like I said, the International Orthopedic Foundation. They bring in those physicians for the training, and since they have them on site and they got to feed them, breakfast is included in that. I've done a lot of breakfast burritos, again, for these film production companies, which have wonky schedules. They have to be at a shoot and nothing's open yet. So, they'll pick up breakfast burritos or box lunches for later in the day from me. And, it's probably a lot more often than you'd realize.
Well, so I'm curious about the personal chef thing also. Again, a world I don't know. And I mean, if someone comes in, like, let's say my family comes in and we're in a house and there's 20 of us in a house for a week, do you come stay with us? And then, because it's far away from you, do they put you up or put you in a hotel and you come cook for a week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Or is that sort of how it works? Or how does that work?
Well, I don't know about a week because I do like my own house.
Yeah.
But, if it were something local in Denver where, I can actually come home at night, then a week I could absolutely do 3 meals a day, 1 meal a day, meal preps. You can set everything up and heat it up yourself and make it easy for you. I can do that too. The only times that I've stayed over and cooked meals for multiple days for people was one night at a time at Airbnb rentals up in Summit County, where people will bring in the family and have a ski vacation, and there's not a whole lot of choices as far as food and restaurants up there. I mean, it's a bit secluded, so it's a good option for them to bring in a personal chef, and I just talk with the client ahead of time, figure out what they want, and how I do that is I go shopping for all the food, and they just reimburse me for the receipt, and then I charge an hourly rate. So all of that is totally customizable too.
I actually love the whole concept because I'm like, it's just such a neat idea. And one of the things that we've done, Deborah and I here, when we get really busy, is we will actually have had chefs we know like prepare meals for us on a weekly basis where we can just pop it in the oven and reheat it just for food wise when we get really busy. So I think that's really cool that you guys do that. And I think it's such an option for people. I think that I know we just talked about Grubhub because I do order from that. Don't get me wrong when we don't have cooking, but if also you want like healthy whole food, like grocery store, the outside section of a grocery store, your fresh fruits, your vegetables, your proteins, having an option like yours where, I can just come by and pick up my dinner and go through, I think is a really cool idea. And I know there's people out there doing it. So I really love what you're doing. So Samantha, my last question for you really, or actually it might not be my last question, but it's the last one I have right now, is, I mean, what are the things you love the most about what you do, and what are the things you like the least?
The things that I love the most, absolutely, are being able to have that personal connection with my clients. So, I mean, if you're working in a restaurant and you're stuck back in the kitchen, you're just pumping plates out all day. And even though you can still put pride into that and you can still put love into your food, there's a disconnect. You know, you put the plate in the window and you're proud of it, and then it goes out to the dining room and you never get to see the people that are eating it. You know, you don't get to talk to them ahead of time, find out what they like, make sure that their food is exactly how they want it, and then get the feedback. You know, I kind of thrive on that. I mean, it's a thing that I'm passionate about and I love to do. And the biggest satisfaction for me is being able to share that with other people and see the look on their face when they eat the food and they're happy and they smile and they just close their eyes and go, you know, it's definitely something that you don't get when you're stuck in a restaurant kitchen. So yeah, I mean, and then especially seeing them come back as repeat customers, you know, that tells me that they really did enjoy it and I really did do a good job. And to see them come back and say, hey, I have another event coming up. Would you like to do it? The answer is always yes. And, you know, the more I work with someone, the more I'm able to kind of get a feel for what they like and what they don't like and, you know, not have to ask quite as many questions in order to nail the event. Things that also on a personal level, I love making my own schedule and and being able to sleep in or stay up late if I want to, and you know, kind of do things on my own time, which is amazing. Things that I've liked the least, I would say, are probably stressing about finances during the slow season. You know, around the holidays, it's always busy because of, you know, everybody's doing holiday parties and they're having family into town. They want a personal chef or they're doing it work catering or what have you. And then looking at my my schedule from last year, after about the second week of December, everything totally dropped off. A couple of things around New Year's, and then after New Year's, it's dead until springtime, mid-springtime. So, I mean, I know enough people in the area that I'm able to pick up gigs here and there and freelance and help other people out when I'm slow. But if I'm slow, they're slow too. So there's not always that demand for a freelance chef to come in and, you know, make some extra cash. So, you know, not having that guaranteed steady paycheck, whether it's slow or not, is stressful. You know, it's rewarding when it goes well, but it's a little nerve-wracking when things get slow.
And so if you could go back and tell yourself anything that you wanted to tell yourself to help you out for the future, what would it be?
Go back how far?
When you started your catering business.
Well, like I said, it's been less than a year, so I don't know if there's been quite enough time that's lapsed for me to learn many lessons that I didn't know before. But I would say definitely, you know, don't shortchange yourself. Don't try and limit yourself or put yourself into a box, because, you know, I'm capable. You know, I'm confident in my skills and I'm confident in my abilities. And, you know, first starting out, it's nerve-wracking. You tend to second guess yourself or think that you may not be able to, or, you know, it's scary. Anybody that's ever started a business, I mean, there's some what's the word I'm looking for? Some variables that you can't predict and that you worry about and worry that it might not work out. But, I tell myself, just don't worry. You're going to be fine. You have the skills. You know what you're doing. And you cook great food. And, if you just put yourself out there, then people will figure it out eventually.
Well, Samantha, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show and just making everything work and telling us about your company. Is there anything that you would like to share with the audience before we get off? Anything that you want to share about your experience?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that if anybody has a dream to start their own company, whether it's in food or something else, absolutely do it. Absolutely. I mean, there's nothing stopping you. All it takes to register an LLC is $50 and 5 minutes on the Secretary of State website. And you can do as much or as little with that company as you want. It's so satisfying to know that you created something. You have something on paper filed with the state officially that's only yours, and you can do exactly what you want with it. So whether it's keep your day job and just do what you want on the weekends or once a month, or if you want to make it your full-time career and rely solely on that, you can do that. There's nothing stopping you. And it's, when you're first starting out, it's pretty intimidating with all the licensing and your business license and your tax license. And if you're in food, you got to get a commissary, you have to get an inspection, you have to do this, you have to do that. But if you just take it one step at a time, then it's completely doable. It's achievable.
Awesome. Thank you so much again, Samantha, for being on the show. And I want to make sure everyone can find you in your name. It's Eclat Culinary. And look them up online on social media and find her. And if you're looking for catering, reach out to Samantha New. And thank you again, Samantha. Thank you, everyone, for listening in. This is Justin the Food Entrepreneurs Podcast, and you can reach out to me on Instagram and Facebook at Justin the Food Entrepreneurs. Thank you, everyone, for listening in, and have a great day.